Welcome to the Sage Solutions podcast, where we talk about all things personal growth, personal development, and becoming your best self. My name is David Sage, and I am a self-worth and confidence coach with Sage Coaching Solutions. Today, we're diving into an incredibly important topic that happens to be the entire foundation of what I coach. Everyone deserves confidence and self-compassion. These two qualities are vital for living a fulfilling life, yet many of us struggle to cultivate them. If you've been following this podcast up to this point, you've listened to the other 4 core fundamentals. This is the final fundamental. Everyone deserves confidence and self-compassion. Today, I'm joined by my co-host and wonderful wife, Hannah Sage.
Hey guys, I'm back.
This topic is the most important topic to me and has made the biggest difference in my life of probably anything that we will talk about on this podcast. It's both deeply personal because I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be coaching. I wouldn't have a podcast if I didn't go through the process of working on my own confidence and self-compassion. And it's also what I work with my clients. It's the whole point of my self-worth and confidence coaching is to help people develop confidence and self-compassion.
But before we get into it, our goal with this podcast is to share free, helpful tools with you and anyone you know who is looking to improve their life. So take action, subscribe, and share this podcast with them. So David, you mentioned that this topic is deeply personal. Now I know some of the reasons for that, but would you mind cueing in the rest of our audience as to why is this topic deeply personal for you and what are your experiences with self-compassion and confidence?
So I touched on this during our intro episode, but to go a little more in depth. Growing up, I had a severe lack of confidence. Now, I'm not 100% sure exactly why that is. I know that there's a general link between ADHD and poor self-esteem. I know that I really struggled with my parents' divorce. I know that I had a really poor self-image and started to develop really bad beliefs about myself. In school, because of my ADHD, I was in special ed because I needed extra time to take tests. And I think I internalized being in those classes and needing that extra time as not being enough, being inadequate, just being less than other kids. And I had some nerdier interests, and I didn't see myself in a great way. I didn't think I was very athletic. I had glasses. I just started to form this really unhelpful view of myself, a view that got worse and worse until I truly came to a point where I did not like myself. I found myself incredibly unattractive, like to the degree that I truly believed no girl would ever like me, like it wasn't physically possible. I'm by nature an extrovert, but all of these beliefs culminated in me coming off as a very quiet, nice, but incredibly shy kid who barely spoke up for myself and kind of let other people walk all over him. I wanted to be social. I wanted to talk to, frankly, everyone, but my confidence and my self-talk were so poor that I believed nobody would want to talk to me, that I didn't have value to bring to other people. Now, I realize that most of these beliefs were in my head. I realize that none of these things were objectively true. I get that now. But I didn't see that at all. There were literally times where a girl would come over and tell me she thought I was cute, and I could only comprehend that as she must be making fun of me because that's not possible. So then I would just shut down and walk away because it hurt my feelings, even though that was not what happened. And I just hit a breaking point. After high school, I got to a point where I couldn't take it anymore. I said, enough is enough. I started critically thinking about some of these things and seeing that there were other confident people, that other people could do this. And I just believed I had to figure this out because I was done living like that. And so I threw myself into personal development, into facing my fears, developing courage, being outgoing and social, even when it terrified me, doing everything that I could to build confidence, looking every person that I saw in the eyes so that I could develop the ability to hold eye contact without being terrified. It was a long process. It took years because I didn't have anyone helping me. I was relying on the wisdom of others through books and other means, but I didn't have a coach. I didn't have somebody that had all of the answers. I had to slowly piece this together and build myself into who I am today. And my life is completely different. I don't know how else to say it. It is a 180. I feel good about myself. I love myself. When I mess things up, I'm kind to myself. I give myself that self-compassion. I don't believe that I am the best at everything, but I am confident in who I am. And I want that for everyone. I want everyone to feel those things. So when I found out that there was a job where I could do this, I could help people get here without them having to figure it out on their own, I threw myself in and I said, I want to do this.
I admire your vulnerability and thank you for sharing. Also, I have one thing to tell you. I think you're cute.
Thanks, baby.
So what does confidence mean to you? And what does that look like?
It's a really good question.
It's a basic question, but it's a good place to start.
Confidence has many different meanings. It's got several different definitions. And I've found when I've asked this question, it means different things to different people. I don't view it as one pure singular definition. For me, that's a little too constrictive. So let's talk about it. What is confidence? Now, the dictionary says that confidence is a feeling of self-assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. Like, she's brimming with confidence. It can also be a state of feeling certain about the truth of something, having confidence in something. Karamo Brown, the culture expert from the hit Netflix show Queer Eye, says and wore a shirt that says that confidence is a habit, not a trait. Mel Robbins, on her show, the Mel Robbins Podcast, has a whole episode on why she believes that confidence is a verb, that confidence is the ability to move from thought to action. Confidence is something that you do, not something that you are. Now, I agree with all of these definitions, with the exception of the fact that some of them are excluding each other. Confidence is a trait. Confidence is a habit. And confidence is an action. Confidence is a belief in yourself and who you are. It is a feeling, a belief, and a state. Confidence is also a habit. It's something you have to build, just like a muscle. You have to work on it over time to become and to stay confident. You are not going to be confident in every situation. It is both a state and a habit. And in order to build that habit, you have to take the action, you have to use the verb of confidence. You have to turn your thoughts into actions. Confident people do things. They get stuff done. You have to embrace all three aspects: the belief, the habit, and the action. And as far as what does confidence look like, confidence is fundamentally the belief in our own abilities and judgment. It's not just about being assertive or outgoing. It's about trusting ourselves to handle challenges and to make decisions. Many of us confuse confidence with self-esteem, but they're not quite the same thing. Self-esteem is how we evaluate our worth, while confidence is more situational. You might feel confident in your professional skills, but not necessarily in social situations. And that's okay. You don't have to be confident in every aspect of your life to be a confident person. There is a difference between self-confidence and situational confidence. Confidence impacts every area of our lives, from how we approach our careers to our relationships. When we believe in ourselves, we're more likely to take risks, pursue goals, and engage fully with others.
Based on the episode title, I'm guessing this is a yes. But is there a correlation between confidence and self-compassion? And what is it?
Self-compassion, in my opinion, is the foundation, the required base to create real confidence, what I like to call true confidence. If you hate yourself, if you are mean to yourself constantly, if your self-talk is mean, aggressive, and very negative, it makes it incredibly hard to have confidence in yourself. The first and most important tool, if you are going to even attempt to get real confidence, is self-compassion.
That hits home for me. My self-talk at times can be atrocious. I'm definitely so much meaner to myself than I am to literally everyone else. So with that being such an ingrained habit, I don't even know where to begin when it comes to tackling my own self-talk and how do I learn to speak nicer to myself.
It can feel incredibly overwhelming. I'm not just saying this from a high horse. I'm saying it because I was there, because I remember the terrible things I would say to myself on a daily basis. And this is a lot more common than most people realize. Poor self-talk is an epidemic. And I think in order to understand how to tackle this problem, we need to understand what the problem is and how destructive the alternative to self-compassion is. Shame or shaming yourself is the polar opposite of having compassion for yourself. When you mess something up, you can either shame yourself, make yourself feel bad, and tell yourself that you are bad, or have some self-compassion. Give yourself kindness. Understanding shame and why it can be so destructive can be a powerful motivator to stop ourselves from shaming ourselves. So let me start with this. Shame, or shaming yourself, is virtually never the right answer. It is basically universally detrimental. It is very self-focused. Shame is to not just feel that you did something wrong, but that you are bad, that you are a bad person, that you are bad and that you should feel bad. Now picture if you said that to your best friend any time that they did anything not quite perfect. Can you imagine how terrible that would be to talk to somebody that way?
You wouldn't have any friends, I can tell you that.
Exactly. So if you wouldn't talk to your friend that way, and you wouldn't accept your friend constantly talking to you that way, why do we tolerate talking to ourselves that way? Now, let's use this to talk about the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt isn't always a good or bad thing. Feeling guilty for things that aren't your fault can definitely be a negative thing. But if you objectively did something wrong, to somebody else and you feel guilty, that is a healthy, normal human response for a moral, ethical person. Guilt is the feeling of responsibility or regretfulness for a perceived offense, real or imaginary, to another person or even yourself. So when you feel that you have done something wrong towards you or someone else and you feel guilty, that feeling of guilt will help motivate you to do the right thing for yourself or for others in the future. It can actually build your empathy. Now, shame takes the fact that you have wronged somebody that you care about, whether that's you or someone else, completely out of the picture. It focuses on how you are bad. You aren't thinking about others, even if you hurt or wronged others. You are just thinking about how bad you yourself are, and that you should feel bad. This actually causes people who feel lots of shame to degrade their own empathy. Their emotional intelligence tends to go down because they are too busy feeling bad about who they are to notice how they're affecting others. So notice the difference between feeling guilty, which, while being a very unpleasant feeling, can be a beneficial long-term feeling, and feeling shame, which is almost universally unhelpful. Actually, a quote from my childhood best friend and the best man at my wedding, Zach Gerg, is, "Don't beat yourself up. It's not a fair fight. You know all of your own weaknesses." Now, the other incredibly important thing to understand about shame or shaming yourself is that many of us use it as a strategy to try and motivate ourselves to do things. Let me be clear. Shame is a terrible long-term motivator. The sooner that you realize this, the sooner you will realize that by shaming yourself into doing things, you are sabotaging your long-term success for that thing. When you feel like crap about yourself, you are not very motivated to do anything. Now, in the moment, shame can be an okay at best motivator, but there are much better, much stronger, much less destructive motivators to use. You are using kind of okay short-term motivator to sabotage your long-term success. That is a horrible strategy. I regularly remind myself that shame is a terrible long-term motivator. That is the first thing. When I feel myself shaming myself, when I catch myself shaming myself, I straight up state to myself in my head, shame is a terrible long-term motivator. So understanding that shame is your enemy, that shaming yourself is clearly unhelpful, I think is how you start to reframe it.
So we know that shame is a terrible, like you said, long-term motivator. But besides eliminating shame, what are some of the other benefits of practicing self-compassion?
Self-compassion comes with many different benefits. And self-compassion is not that different than having compassion for others. And there's plenty of benefits for having compassion for others, both for yourself and for them. Now, when it comes to self-compassion, we should probably understand what it is. So let's explore it. Self-compassion involves treating ourselves with kindness, especially during moments of failure or struggle. It's about recognizing that we're all human and that imperfection is a shared experience. Research by Dr. Kristen Neff identifies 3 key components of self-compassion: self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. Self-kindness means being gentle with ourselves instead of harshly critical. Common humanity is recognizing that we all face struggles, and mindfulness involves being aware of our thoughts and feelings without judgment and being in the present moment. Studies show that self-compassion can lead to greater emotional resilience, reduced anxiety, and even better relationships. When we're compassionate towards ourselves, we build a foundation for growth, and we are much more likely to be even more compassionate to others. The way we talk to ourselves sets the groundwork for some of the way that we talk to others.
It's all easier said than done.
And you're not wrong.
So when you're in the moment, how do you challenge those negative thoughts?
We can't just snap our fingers and all of a sudden have a ton of self-compassion and none of that toxic shaming of ourselves.
I wish. Magic Genie, where are you?
But what we can do is build our self-compassion, because self-compassion is a skill. And just like every other skill, you build it like a muscle. It's about the consistency. It's about building it by practicing it regularly as often as we can. So how do we do that? We start with awareness. Start becoming much more aware of how you're talking to yourself. Every time that you talk to yourself in your head, start becoming aware. Listen. You are not just your thoughts. You are the consciousness that experiences your thoughts. Your thoughts are not necessarily you. Just because you think something mean about yourself does not make it true. Hear your thoughts. Listen. Use some of the active listening strategies that we talked about in other episodes to hear how you talk to yourself. Notice it. Once you bring awareness to it, you can do something about it. Second, realize that the battle of self-talk is a never-ending one. You will never have perfect self-talk. It won't happen. I'm not there, and I will never fully be there. We are always going to be mean to ourselves sometimes. We have thoughts that just pop up in our heads. It's okay. Often I will have a shaming thought, and then I will stop and have my self-compassionate thought right after. Sometimes it's about slowing your thoughts down. And for me, the way that I started doing it was realizing, A, that I just wanted somebody to stand up for me. And that somebody had to be me, because nobody else could hear the mean voice in my head. You might not win that war right away, but at least someone is standing up for you. You might be drowned out by all of the mean thoughts at first, but at least someone is saying the kind things. When I have these mean thoughts, I try and take control of my conscious perspective, and I tell myself nice things. Now, I might not fully believe them in that moment. I might have stronger thoughts pop up that are trying to tear them down, but at least someone is advocating for me. You have to start that fight. You have to try. Don't give up. And then the third step, once you've started practicing the skill of being kind to yourself, there is a very helpful perspective, a way of evaluating your self-talk that's very logical, and this is how I really broke through. Evaluate the way that you're talking to yourself by thinking about what you just said, and think if you would be okay saying that to somebody who is close to you, your child, your best friend, your spouse. And if it would not be okay to say to them, then it's not something you should be saying to yourself.
It's tough, though, because you're the only one who hears that. Like there's no one else keeping you in check. So how do you stay on top of it and keep yourself in check on it?
It's by combining all three steps. Taking that step back. Practicing the awareness so that you are noticing when it's happening. So that becomes common, so that you are not just having it happen without realizing. Once you have that awareness, practicing speaking up for yourself, even if you're not winning, just so that you get used to hearing that counter voice. And then third, using that objective evaluation. Because when you think about saying it, so not just, oh, would I? Picture yourself saying the mean thing you just said to yourself to somebody that you love and care about deeply. If they just messed up the same thing, would you feel okay saying that to them? And if the answer is no, you will feel the emotion of regret and guilt. And that emotion will fuel your kindness and compassion that you would have given them to yourself. And if I really want to ramp up this visualization, I take myself out of it. If I'm worried about getting stuck in a shame spiral where I shame myself for shaming myself, I actually picture that it's someone else saying the thing I just said to myself. I picture that somebody else is saying that to my loved one. And it makes me realize I'm not okay with somebody talking to them like that. And I'm not going to tolerate it. Therefore, I'm not going to tolerate talking to myself like that. You can actually start to get defensive and speak up for yourself. Boundaries aren't just for other people, so defend yourself. And then give yourself the kindness that you deserve, the kindness you would show your loved one.
That makes sense. It's definitely a patience game, that's for sure.
Over time, it becomes easier and easier, and it will feel less uncomfortable and less foreign. And eventually, once you hit that breaking point, that over 50%, where you're doing it more than you're not, then you build a momentum that just makes it easier and easier, and just it becomes automatic. We all deserve confidence and self-compassion because you are enough. You have value, and I can prove it. Killing people is wrong because human lives have value, and you are a living human being. Therefore, you have value. You are alive. You are a consciousness. You're a human. You have value, inherent value. And that means that you are enough. You don't have to accomplish anything specific to be enough. You just are. And it's this radical acceptance, this self-acceptance, that is one of the most powerful things that we can do for ourselves to build confidence. You have the ability to do good and to help people, to make a positive impact on the lives of others. And that has value. So all of this is why everyone deserves confidence and self-compassion. In today's world, we often face social pressures that can chip away at our confidence. Social media amplifies these feelings, presenting curated lives that seem perfect. But remember, everyone has struggles behind the scenes, and people are just showing their highlights, not their struggles. Self-compassion helps us counteract these pressures. When we cultivate kindness towards ourselves, we can silence the critical inner voice that says we're not good enough. This practice is essential for our mental health and our overall well-being. I've seen countless stories of people who've transformed their lives by embracing these qualities, from individuals overcoming personal challenges to professionals thriving in their careers. The common thread is that they learned to be kind to themselves.
To summarize it, being self-compassionate is kind of like a building block to becoming more confident in yourself.
It is one of the essential foundations for true confidence. I think it's possible to be confident and not have self-compassion, but I think it's much, much, much harder, and it's a little bit of a hollow confidence. What I try to build for my clients is what I call true confidence. So let's talk about what that is. Beyond the definition that I gave earlier, because it is that, it's also how many other things come together to form this concept of true confidence. Self-compassion is one of those topics. The definition that I gave of confidence is another. Somewhat counterintuitively, so is humility and having intellectual humility. A common misconception is that humility and confidence are opposites. They're not. At least not the way that I view it. I don't think that's a helpful paradigm, and I don't think that it's correct. It's more like the scale goes from a lack of self-confidence to being self-confident. And the other scale goes from having humility to being arrogant. I'm not teaching arrogance. I'm teaching confidence. And I truly believe that you can be confident and humble or have some humility at the same time. And that's one of the biggest foundations of true confidence. Being compassionate to yourself, having humility, being confident, along with several other things like having good self-esteem or self-worth, learning to love yourself, developing self-respect and self-acceptance, having self-awareness, feeling secure, and being courageous. But how do we build this confidence, this true confidence? We'll start with some practical tips. Set small, achievable goals. Break larger tasks into smaller steps, and each success will help build your confidence. Celebrate your successes. Take time to acknowledge and celebrate your achievements, no matter how small. This reinforces your belief in your own abilities. Practice positive self-affirmations. Replace the negative self-talk with some positive affirmations that remind you of your strengths. Now, these affirmations need to be in the present, not I will be, but I am, and they need to be believable. They can't be so far off base of where you are currently at that you immediately reject them in your head, or they won't do you any good. Step out of your comfort zone. Regularly challenge yourself to try new things. Each step outside of your comfort zone can boost your confidence. Confidence is a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. Get comfortable getting uncomfortable and build that muscle. Brené Brown, world-renowned vulnerability and shame researcher, says that vulnerability isn't weakness. She talks about how vulnerability is scary, and being vulnerable takes courage. Confident people have courage. Confident people show vulnerability. Courage, or doing things that scare you, builds confidence. Repeatedly turning towards your fears, facing your fears, builds confidence. This is one of the absolute strongest ways to become more confident in yourself. Courage and confidence are linked. Use them together. Courage builds confidence. Confidence makes you more courageous. And that means facing failure. It takes courage to face failure. Remember, action equals success, and outcomes are learning. I mentioned the difference between situational confidence, which is confidence in a specific situation or skill, versus being overall confident or having self-confidence. But they factor into each other. The more things that you feel confident in doing, the easier it is to feel confident about yourself. So building individual skills, getting better at things, feeling competent, builds your confidence. Repeatedly getting better and more competent makes you feel more confident. But remember, confidence does not mean that you are competent. Many people speak confidently about things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're competent in them. Believing in yourself helps you feel more confident. Just being a good person and acting within your values makes you feel like you're at peace with yourself and makes it that much easier to feel confident. Since we've established that you are enough and you have value, take a look at some of your other limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs are one of the biggest things that I deal with people who have a lack of confidence. We usually have to work on those limiting beliefs about themselves and help sculpt or shift and change them so that they have much more helpful, positive, and accurate beliefs about themselves. Stop being nice just to get other people's approval. Be kind because you want to make them feel good. My father, John Sage, always told me it's important to be able to laugh at yourself. It shows that you don't take yourself too seriously. And that is very true, but don't take it to an extreme. Use some shades of gray. If you are way too strong on your self-deprecating humor, it can actually become a major sign of insecurity. Find some balance. Think big. Redefine your self-image. Stop seeing yourself only as who you are now and use that growth mindset to start seeing yourself as who you're becoming, as that ideal self that you are working towards and becoming more and more like every day. Lewis Howes says in his book, School of Greatness, you become what you envision yourself to be. Your self-image has a huge effect on the way that you show up in the world. If you see yourself and identify as an athlete, you are much more likely to work out. If you can get to a point where you see yourself as a confident person, you are much more likely to do things that are in line with what a confident person would do. Remember that taking care of yourself is not selfish. It's being smart. In order to help others, you have to help yourself. You have to fill up your own cup before you can pour into others. You have to put your oxygen mask on before helping others in an airplane. And in labor, they tell the mother to breathe in between the pushes, not just all pushes, because you have to take that break to recuperate so that you can do that much more work. All of these are just analogies to say that you have to take care of yourself so that you can be that much more effective and so that you can take care of others. Confidence is affected by so many different aspects of our life that you can't just do one thing and boom, be confident. Which is why I take a multifaceted approach and systematically tackle all of the areas that affect somebody's confidence. It's hard to be confident if your entire worldview is pessimistic, which is why I advocate for and believe in realistic optimism. If you believe that life will get better in the future, it's easier to be confident in the now. One of the ways that people can start to build confidence is to fake it till you make it. By actually doing things that confident people do and trying to act confident, you are rewiring your nervous system to be more okay with that, to say, hey, this is something that I do. Now, it might feel weird at first, but it is one of the fastest ways to start getting results. But you will not get full confidence just by faking it. In fact, many people think that they are confident, but they're not. What they have is ego. Ego is false or fake confidence. Ego is a sense of self that has to show both how important you are and has to protect me from anything that would make me look bad. Ego is your enemy. It's literally the title of Ryan Holiday's book, Ego is the Enemy. Ego is like armor that you think is made of steel because of how heavy it is, but is actually made of sharp, jaded paper. It's flimsy, it doesn't really protect you, and it gives everyone who comes into contact with you paper cuts. Acting out of ego will almost always make you regret it. It comes from a lack of self-esteem, and acting regularly out of ego will actually make your self-esteem worse. Your mindset directly affects your physiology, your expression, and your body language. But the link goes both ways. Forcing yourself to take on body language for an extended period of time that is confident or a given emotion will actually start to make you feel that emotion because there is a feedback loop between your brain and your physiology, which is why I teach people confident body language so that they can start to feel what it feels like to be confident. Some other smaller contributors are the way that you physically look. For some people, losing weight or gaining muscle can be an external factor that helps them feel a bit more confident. Dressing in a way that makes you feel good can also help you feel more confident. The show Queer Eye does a very good job of showing how changing other aspects of people's lives, in addition to their mindset, can give a holistic approach to making people feel more confident. Getting better social skills and having better social interactions often makes people feel more confident. Confident people avoid negativity in general, shades of gray here, and embrace positivity. But we're not talking about toxic positivity. Confident people are not afraid to set boundaries. Confident people have standards for themselves, and they teach people how to treat them by using boundaries and by showing them, by treating other people the way that they want to be treated. Mel Robbins' high five habit and 5-second rule are definitely helpful tools for building confidence, as well as my own little fist bump boost. We'll talk more about these in another episode. We need to let go of OPO, other people's opinions. We can't control them, and we shouldn't define ourselves by them. When I was in Taekwondo, growing up, all the way up through black belt, we were constantly told to greet each other and say the word pilsung. It's the Korean saying for, I can do it. Adopt a pilsung attitude. Tell yourself, I can do it, when you're worried about something, when you're scared. It'll make you feel more confident. You can have confidence in who you are and your ability to learn while questioning a specific idea or solution to a problem. Just because you don't have everything figured out doesn't mean that you can't be confident in that situation. A growth mindset is much more helpful than a fixed mindset for being confident. Taking control of your perspective of reality can reshape things to help you stay in a confident mindset. Focusing on your locus of control makes you feel much more in control and confident about what's going on in your life, while having the freedom to not obsess over the things that you can't do anything about. Mindfulness and being in the present help you stay away from worrying about the future and dwelling about the past so you can be confident in the now. And lastly, getting your 6 human needs taken care of makes a huge difference in being able to feel confident on a daily basis. As Dr. Aziz Gazipura says in his book, Extraordinary Confidence, in most areas of life, boldness is rewarded and cowardice is punished, or at best, ignored.
Well, I feel more confident already. Thanks, David. Do you have any quick tips or tricks to help yourself when you're in the moment to feel more confident?
Yes. First, focus on your self-talk. Try to picture yourself being successful at the current task. Change your physiology. Adopt good posture and confident body language and facial expression. And you can even listen to music that has a deep bass, pumps you up, or has a positive message. All of these will give you a little confidence boost in the moment.
So to wrap this up, confidence and self-compassion are essential qualities that everyone deserves. They empower us to navigate life's challenges and to embrace our true selves. I encourage you to reflect on your self-talk and consider how you can take small steps towards embracing these qualities in your life. I know I will be.
While this is all generally helpful and beneficial information, it isn't personalized. If you're looking for individualized advice and are interested in receiving coaching, you can reach out to me at sagecoachingsolutions@gmail.com. And remember, you are enough, and you deserve true confidence and self-compassion. Thank you for listening to the Sage Solutions podcast. Your time is valuable, and I'm so glad you choose to learn and grow here with me. We'd love to hear your feedback, so click the link in the description and let us know what you think. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on more sage advice. One last thing. The legal language. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. No coaching-client relationship is formed. It is not intended as a substitute for the personalized advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional.